I discovered a little girl living in my attic. I think she wants me to adopt her. I think I'm going to be sick. I'm shaking and crying. I don't know who she is or where she came from. If I call the police, what am I supposed to say? That there's a little girl living in my attic which is impossible to open without my key. It started when my wife went to Atlanta to visit her folks and brought the baby with her. She only asked that I take care of a few things around the house. Namely, she wanted the bedroom painted. So last night around 1 o'clock, I decided to prep for painting before I go to bed. I moved the dresser drawers, nightstand, and lamp out of the bedroom and headed out to the garage. The garage, by the way, is still a complete mess. I've had the house for 4 months now, and I just never got around to fixing up what the foreclosure process did to that section of the house. I dig through some stuff to get the brushes, paint cans, and trays out. Then I hear it. It was faint at first, but it was definitely coming from the attic. It sounded like crying. I look up and the door to the attic is hanging down ever so slightly. I had been worried about squirrels getting in there since we moved in, so I decided to investigate. The door drops down with a sudden and rather loud slam. My dog was alarmed by this and decided to charge into the garage barking, only he doesn't make it the whole way. I hear him scamper and howl the whole way from the living room into the laundry room, but when he gets to the doorway between the laundry room and the garage, he slams on the brakes. I have never seen him scared. He proceeds to pee on the floor and shakes violently. "Benny, what are you doing?" I'm not really mad at him, but I probably yelled louder than I should have. He looks up at me with fear in his eyes and keeps messing the floor. I pick him up and take him into the living room. He slowly and apprehensively follows me back into the laundry room. I walk back into the garage with a hockey stick as a weapon and a flashlight. He stayed in the doorway again and whined at me, imploring me not to go up. I don't know what I expected to see. A raccoon? But what I saw froze me in my tracks. I had only made it 2 steps up the ladder, barely sticking my head into the attic when I saw her. Clear as day, there was a girl in my attic. No older than 6 years of age, she sat in the fetal position in the corner of my attic. Her head was buried into her knees and she rocked herself slowly back and forth. She wore a long t-shirt that I assumed was her pajamas. It looked tattered with age. She was whimpering quietly to herself. I probably wouldn't be able to even discern the sound, if not for the fact that I had been stopped dead in my tracks, holding my breath, my heartbeat echoing in my skull. After what seemed like forever, she looked up at me and our eyes met. Her eyes had deep bags, as if she had been crying for years without sleep. "I'm so hungry." And with that, she was gone. She didn't disappear in a puff of smoke or anything. Just 1 second there she was, and the next, she wasn't. It was as if I was watching a movie, and it simply jumped from one frame to the next. I'm not really sure what I saw, but I can only assume it was a ghost. My senses slowly came back to me, and I proceeded to tear the hell out of there. Benny and I ran into the bedroom, slammed and locked the door. I sat in my room with all the lights on for about an hour. I was almost ready to scope out the situation when I heard her start crying again. It was very soft, and I don't know how, but I could sense that she was actively trying to cry quietly. It was almost as if she was embarrassed and didn't want to be heard. "I'm so hungry," reverberated in my head. I could almost hear her say it. It was as if she was talking to me in my head. I didn't feel scared. I got out of bed and went into the kitchen. I made a small bowl of Easy Mac. I poured a glass of milk. I walked into the garage. I flicked on the garage light and was greeted by silence. I already felt foolish, but it seemed even more foolish to leave the food on the floor. So I flipped a hamper upside down and made a makeshift table. I left the food on the hamper in the middle of the garage, like some sort of preschool offering. I left the garage light on and slowly backed out to the laundry room doorway. I honestly expected to see her tiny, malnourished frame climb down the ladder that I had left open. But after a few minutes, I started to think how ridiculous I was being. I could hear my dog crying and immediately felt bad for scaring him so badly. I went back to the bedroom and tried to soothe him, but it turns out I didn't have to. When I got there, he was wagging and seemed like his old self. I can't explain it, but the house felt warmer. I was gone for maybe 2 minutes, but when I got back to the garage, the food was gone. I mean, gone. The bowl was licked clean. I stared at it, dumbfounded, and took the dishes back to the kitchen and put them into the sink. I didn't get much sleep that night. In my dreams, I could see her. She thanked me for the food and asked for cookies, dolls, and chocolate milk instead of regular milk. On the way home from work today, I picked up some Chips Ahoy, more Easy Mac, chocolate syrup, and some cheap Barbie knockups. I put them in the garage, and when I got back from walking Benny, I returned to a similar scene. Cookies gone with no crumbs, Easy Mac gone with a bowl licked clean, but the doll was missing. I continued my routine for a few more days, providing food and toys for the unseen girl in the attic. I felt an unusual calmness about the situation, given how odd it was. My wife was due to return home the next day, and I still hadn't figured out how to explain our new family member. That night, as I laid in bed, I heard it again, the soft, pitiful whimper from the attic. But this time, it was different. It was louder, more urgent. I got out of bed and prepared another serving of Easy Mac and a glass of chocolate milk. With a trembling hand, I also took a small stuffed bear from my son's collection. As I placed the items on the makeshift table in the garage, the whimpering stopped. A chilling silence fell over the room. Suddenly, a guttural, raspy voice echoed from the attic. "More?" it growled. Stunned, I backed away, the blood draining from my face. The voice was no longer that of a little girl. It was something else, something malevolent. I ran back into the house, slamming the door behind me, but as I turned, I saw something that made my heart drop. Benny, usually so lively, lay still on the floor. I rushed to him, but it was too late. My companion, my friend, was gone. Frantic and terrified, I picked up the phone to call the police, but before I could dial, my phone buzzed with a message. It was from my wife. I opened it to see a photo of our baby boy, looking adorable in his crib. But then, my blood ran cold as I read her message. Honey, the strangest thing happened. When I was packing up to come home, I couldn't find Teddy anywhere. You know, his favorite bear. I swear I packed it. But the weirdest part is, he didn't even cry. He just kept pointing at the empty spot in his crib and saying more, over and over again. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned to look at the small, empty teddy bear space on the makeshift table in the garage. And then, from somewhere far away, I heard the sound of a child's laughter,